It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes. Yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews. You never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. I'm your host, Renee, and as always, I am very excited to bring you another great guest this show. So every single episode, we're bringing you the latest, greatest stories, behind-the-scenes journeys, athletes, players, coaches, former players, I should say, reporters. It's a lot of great personalities. Well, today's show, we're getting things started with a tremendous talent who's going to tell us about his soccer career, and that's Harry Forrester. In our episode to start will be Harry, and then we'll see, we may have a special guest joining us also at the end, where you might be in a treat to be able to get 2 for 1 in this episode. So this week, we're starting off with the sports wrap. Harry Forrester will be joining us in a moment.
What's up? It's Microphone Rocky, and here's our host, Renee Washington, with our sports wrap covering news, updates, and everything else you need to know around the league.
So he's a pro on and off the field, and also a coach that is looking to pursue broadcasting as a career. But the talent, the accomplishments, the honors is one of the main reasons I'm excited to have him on the show today. So our guest, Harry Forrester. Harry, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Can't complain, honestly. It's Friday Eve. We're having a great conversation. We were supposed to have this conversation last week. Yeah, so I am excited and waiting with bated breath to get going.
That was some intro, by the way.
Oh, I thank you. I got to thank my team for that, for helping me put that together.
Perfect.
Yeah, so you're on the West Coast, the second best coast, I should say, at that, and joining us. So I first want to just get into your career as a soccer player before we even discuss what's next for you, before we even get into the work that you've been doing as a coach, specifically as a soccer player, a footballer for many other parts of the world. What got you started in the first place of picking soccer? You know, why soccer as a kid? Was that the sport you grew into loving, as I did myself too? Take us through that journey.
I think growing up in the UK, it's handed to you. Everyone plays soccer out there, and naturally I sort of gravitated towards it. It wasn't until I was sort of 7, 8 years old where I realized I was fairly decent at it. So I just carried on playing, and then when I, 16, 17 years old, I got a call to join a Premier League team, and then, you're talking about it being a job and et cetera, et cetera. So it just kind of fell naturally, and it was a journey which I really, really enjoyed, playing at some great teams, and then obviously getting a chance to move around the world and do what you love is a great thing,
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said the very first part of that. Growing up in the UK, it was natural. Because as you know, there's such a difference in the United States versus other parts of the world, where soccer and football in other parts of the world, I should say, is a sport that so many kids grow up playing every day, and that's what you do for fun. I know here in Jersey, I played in my backyard, in my living room. I played with my siblings. I played any and every time I possibly could. But that's not common for everybody. So I'm definitely curious to know the influence of being able to grow up playing soccer and being so active, where it wasn't forced. It wasn't always structured, scheduled, coaches, anything like that. It was just purely for the love of the game.
Yeah, we grew up playing everywhere and anywhere. My mum used to shout at me from the window, "Get inside, it's getting dark." We used to play in the dark. It was, we used to come home, everyone used to meet on the park and just play for hours and hours and hours. Like you say, it wasn't structured, it wasn't pressured, it was just because we all love the game. And like that, naturally you progress just by playing and putting in the hours and putting in time to get better. And then all of a sudden it turns into something where it's a passion. You want to get better, and you start watching TV, you start seeing your heroes like David Beckham, etc. on TV, and you start to want to emulate what they do. But like you say, it's such a big sport, you know, in Europe, where the competition is very, very high. Everyone loves the game. Everyone wants to watch the game. So coming over here, it was a little bit different. But like I say, that's kind of why I fell into the coaching side, doing what I'm doing, because I kind of seen the gap between what we used to do and how we used to play and how we used to train to what they're kind of doing over here. So I wanted to be a help between bridging the gap.
Absolutely. And that is a great influence into wanting to be a coach, knowing your own experiences, how they have helped shape you to now want to be able to pay that forward for another athlete. And something you mentioned earlier was the fact that you realized just how good you could be around like 6 or 7. You know, I think back to when I first started playing soccer, which I thought I was actually really good. And come to find out, the first year I was terrible. And I was like a cone out there picking grass. The game was all around me. But there is that moment where things start to click. So as a player, what was that transition for you, when it went from you're just playing with your friends to I'm going to play at the highest level and keep growing and grinding, you know, as an athlete, because I do have a talent here that makes me someone that can pursue and follow in the footsteps. You mentioned David Beckham, of one day playing professionally.
Yeah, well, my timeline was a bit of a unique one, if I'm being honest with you. I think at 7, I was at a team called Northampton Town, which are probably in the third tier of English football right now. I was 7 years old. And then I went to Watford, and Watford paid like £3,000 for me at 7. So I was a bit taken back by it. Obviously, you're a kid, so you don't think about it too much. So I ended up going to Watford at sort of 8 years old and was there till I was 16. And I really, really loved that. My best friend, Rob, who's also going to be joining me at on the coaching side at the academy, what we're doing, he's out here now as well. So I met him when I was 9 years old. We went through that system together. Then when I got to 16, I started playing for England and started talking to brands about sponsorship and bigger teams coming in and speaking to you. So then that's kind of when I thought, okay, this is getting serious now. You know, I've got to take a leap and do the best for my career and what I want to do. Whereas before that, it was all just fun and me just enjoying the game and playing the game and doing what I could to improve. It all of a sudden become, okay, this could be a job now and I need to make decisions based on how far I want to go in the game. Which is when I had, you know, a few Premier League teams come in and I ended up going with Aston Villa. I signed for them for just over £1 million, I think it was, at 16, which brought its own pressures. You know, all of a sudden you're playing, nobody really knows you. You're playing well and everyone's talking about you. You then have a price tag and all of a sudden it's, okay, now you're expected to do big things. So it was a good learning curve for me. But like I say, it wasn't until probably 16 where it changed from being something I love doing and it was free to becoming, okay, this is now a job and I need to improve. And people have invested in me and backed me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. The pressures of being 16 and signing a contract like that. That is something that, especially across sports, we are seeing more and more of players that are given opportunities, whether it's being a college athlete and now being able to, through the NIL, have sponsorship deals, or even just, as you're mentioning, being talented enough to earn a professional contract as a teenager. You know, talk about the struggle and the challenges that come along with that. As you mentioned, there are pressures. Once you start signing your name, your John Hancock on a line, and there's money attached to it, and there's a team behind you, it definitely changes things from now being the kid that's playing out with your friends to now having more eyes on you with the pressure of being a professional. So talk about that adjustments to the next level of being a pro soccer player. Yeah,
absolutely. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older I realized how much of a pressure that probably was. I think at 16, 17, you're a bit blasé, you take everything as it comes. It was hard at first, I'm going to be honest. When I first went to Aston Villa, it was difficult because everyone all of a sudden knows who you are. And instead of you just being good, you're expected to be good and better. So it's a little bit difficult dealing with that at the time. I think your support network's huge. I think that's what we try and do. We don't just help people on the field coaching. We try and be a support network to speak and advise. And, sometimes when you're talking about stuff, it helps. If you've got no one to talk to, you're going to manifest that inside you and it's going to eat you away. So I think having that support network is very, very big. I enjoyed every minute of Villa. I had a good time there, but like I say, having that price attached to you and you're earning money, people are paying you, there's now expectations, as there are in any job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. So, I mean, I like a lot of what you're saying because it does translate across, all professions. I know we're talking specifically about being a pro soccer player, but a lot of these different pressures and expectations and the challenges of moving from one stage to the next, it's a very common struggle of figuring out even who you are with that change. As we talk about going from it being just a sport you love and play for fun to now the pressures that come along with that. So do you have a defining moment you could think of? I know there have been many, I'm sure, but one in specific that stands out that was kind of that moment of reality that maybe helped you mature in some way, either as a player, as a person, or maybe possibly both in your career that you can think back on?
Yeah, I do actually. When I left Villa at 2021, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had an opportunity to go to Ajax in Holland. They offered me a contract, and I actually had a contract on the table from Brentford. So now, if you know football, Ajax are a Champions League giant, well known everywhere in the world, and Brentford were kind of under the radar and not known. So I had a decision whether I went with the name and attach myself to a big club and a little bit of an ego move potentially, or whether I literally left all that behind and knuckled down and tried to carve out a career in the game. So I ended up going for Brentford, which a lot of people raised eyebrows to be honest. But in my head, there was a clear path to make it to the next level and get back to where I was. So that was a defining moment for me, was either go the easy route or take a step back and start from the bottom again and work your way up and prove yourself. So that was one thing at 2021 that I needed to do, and it paid off. To be honest, it did pay off. It was a brave move, but that was a defining moment.
And I like what you said about that, because it was a chance for you to kind of take a step back and work on your craft. I think that's something in itself that says a lot about that experience. Sometimes we're so busy chasing the top and the best that we lose sight of the fact that if it's not helping you grow and progress in some way, is it really helping you? I even think back to questions I often get around, like why I chose the college I chose, why I chose this, why I chose that. And at the end of the day, as you're saying, you have to make decisions that will best help you in the moment. And even beyond that moment, for your future, to help you prepare. So it's easy, well, not easy, but you could have, should say, chase what is just the fancy, shiny types of opportunities. I'll use that metaphor, versus the ones that maybe in hindsight weren't as glamorous, even though it still is a great opportunity, but gave you a chance to grow and to learn. Instead of just always chasing the top club and the top teams, but to be able to grow. So who was someone that you really felt was very pivotal in you making this transition as a professional athlete to be able to own it, be confident in it, and continue to just pursue what made you happy and what helped you grow in your career?
I just think I had a guy at Brentford, Mark Warburton, who was later on in my career my manager. He was with me at Watford when I was a kid. And like you say, the glamorous side, the ego side was telling me to go to the biggest team and, I'd get the press reports and all the rest of it, and great. But also had him in my corner sort of telling me you'd prove yourself at a reserve level, you'd prove yourself at a kids level. Like, everyone knows who you are. You now have to prove yourself in the men's game. So are you going to go to Ajax and do that, or are you going to go back into the reserve in the second team and be a kid still? It's time now to take that leap. So him in my corner, backing me and believing in me, was part of the reason I went to Brentford. And like I said, I had a 2-year plan to get back into the Championship. I managed to achieve that. After year one, it was a little bit tough. And then the second year, I kind of found my feet and really pushed on. But having him there to support me and to believe in me when the chips are down and you're doubting yourself, you've just left a big club, you need someone there who really, believes in you and puts their arm around you in some ways and sort of gives you the lift you need.
Yeah. Oh, man. And that's sometimes you need, I mean, you definitely need a village, and it comes in a lot of different forms, whether it's family, whether it's coaches, teammates, someone that can just help you kind of refocus and stay on the path that you're going. But as you mentioned, playing for clubs like, Villa, playing for Watford, having the opportunity to play with these major names, that's a dream for any kid growing up, to be able to say, I played for Brentford, I played for all these different teams, and you were there. I got to know, was there or yes, let's go there. Was there a specific team that you felt like best shaped your career? Because I think every single team has its own vibe, brand, sort of culture that helps shape who you are. But out of all of your experiences, if you had to pick one, who do you think helped the most in your growth as a player, and even just to give you those awesome memories and experiences that you look back on?
I think as a person and as a player, like when I was at Rangers, Glasgow Rangers in Scotland, it was everything I ever dreamed of being a professional. Walking out to 55, 60,000 fans, scoring in front of 60,000 fans, them singing your name, seeing what it means to the community. You're walking around in Glasgow and everyone recognises you, and you see how much it means to them when you're winning and how much it means to them when you're losing. I think that really, really hit home that this is what I wanted to do, and this is what I'd tried to achieve from such a young age. And I was kind of at that level where I'd kind of got there. It's the first time I really probably took a step back from the pressures of trying to perform week in, week out, and your career passes you by so quickly. It was the first time I really stepped back and thought, yeah, this is where I wanted to be. This is what I've dreamed of. And it kind of made me appreciate the road to get there. I think until that moment, I was still putting myself under pressure and didn't think I'd reach my potential. I think that was one club where I took a step back and thought, yeah, this is what you worked so hard for.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all for. I mean, the long days, the sacrifices, the blood, sweat, and tears that go into all of it is to be able to play at the highest level. And you've been able to play in a variety of leagues, Premier League, USLs, on different English clubs, and playing in so many different arenas in front of different fans. And then, as you mentioned, just having that moment, that like aha moment, whether it's being recognized on the street as people are walking by you, or just hearing people cheering for you as you score goals and get assists and win games. It's incredible to think about the doors that sports really open and the opportunities it grants. So for you, as you have, being able to look back now, from a wiser, I won't say older, a wiser space in your career, as we are getting older. Absolutely. I'm definitely curious to know, looking back, what are some of the greatest things that your experiences as a professional have helped prepare you for today as a coach, and even someone that's pursuing sports broadcasting?
I think just the people that you kind of run by week in, week out, they're driven people. They're normally people at the top of their field. They're people that you can take every little bit of advice from, and try and form it into something you want to be. With the coaching side now, obviously, we're doing the coaching out here in Southern California, which is amazing. I didn't think I'd have been doing that 5-6 years ago. But that's one thing that we're trying to do, is just take a little bit from everyone we meet, players, coaches. My last coach in England was Steven Gerrard for a few months. I was lucky enough to work with him. So it's just trying to be, a sponge of them kind of people, learn from them and shape your career after football. Like I said, I'm not sure whether I am finished yet. I'm still deciding whether I'm going to play or not. Now I can make that decision. But like I say, as far as advising kids and training them and trying to make them better players and better people, it's just being a sponge from the best that you learn, and taking 5-10% from everyone and guiding the next generation.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Being able to pay it forward, being able to now use your experiences, the tools that you've learned, all the great memories and moments you had to now pay it forward. And I know, as we were talking about before the show, COVID has obviously changed a lot for many people, yourself included, including your career, and just not really knowing what is next. So, I would love for you to share with everybody else just the process, because everybody's been impacted differently in some way. And, for you as a player, you are still unlike myself, who's very retired, you are still in peak, performance where you still are playing and wanting to play. But COVID has changed that and made things a little bit more uncertain for you. So just share kind of the progress of what you've been working through since 2020 of like, will you be able to play? What's next? Where do you go from here? And just share that with those that are tuning in.
Yeah, so obviously at the end of last season, no one really knew when the season would start. COVID was a real big issue at that point. No one knew when it was going to start. No one knew budgets. No one could promise you anything. I was in the green card process and waiting for stuff to come back before I could work. And it didn't come back for a long time, just due to the shortfall, and they were backlogged for months. So it was a bit of a waiting game for me. But like I say to you, give me a time to reflect and sit back for the first time in probably 10, 12 years. And think about my paths, think about what I wanted to do. And that's when we started coming up with Prospect Soccer and doing what we do down here now with the kids and coaching. It was actually a blessing as far as the coaching side goes, because we had a lot of people reach out to us later on when they weren't able to practice. They come down, they loved it, they worked with us. We've just now closed our second camp with Nike, which was a huge success. So as my playing side sort of took a bit of a halt, I'd say it reached a point where I wasn't sure whether I would be playing anymore, and I had to do something else. I kind of fell into Prospect Soccer. And now that's flying, to be honest. We've got a good reputation down here. We're doing the best we can. The kids love it. The camps have been a success, and to have someone like Nike next to us was huge. So, like they say, every cloud has a silver lining. It was sort of maybe one door closed, but definitely another door open. So it was an easy transition, and as you probably aware as a player, a former player, sorry.
It's okay. Very former.
That transitional period is quite worrying. When you're like, what am I going to do, or what's next? When you've done something since you're 6, 7 years old, I've always had that in the back of my head. So for it to naturally just sort of spill over into what I'm doing now, like I'm highly grateful.
Yes. Yeah. There's nothing wrong on this side of the fence with being a washed up, retired former athlete. I wish I could say I still play, but I do not. But I think, as you're saying, there is that, and what you're even alluding to is there is that uncertainty of what's next. I think that was why I know that was the hardest thing for me as I was progressing through my career, of figuring out, okay, what is life without soccer? That's all I've done. When you are growing up and you're playing around the clock, and you're running from game to game, practice to practice, this team and that team, whatever it may be. It's so different when you now are like, okay, I don't have to actually prepare for the beep test, or I don't have to prepare for a preseason, or I don't have to go out and work on my shot or anything like that. Yeah. What do I do? So even that in itself is a challenge.
I had 4 months out of the gym, which I wouldn't recommend to anyone, because getting back into it's not easy.
No. I can only imagine. The training alone that goes into it, and then you add in the mental preparation, games. That's the one thing I definitely miss for sure, of not being able to play games and that excitement. But as you mentioned, when one door closes, another opens. And for you, it's now being able to, I won't say a door is closed. It's like it's cracked a little. And a window's open, because you still are leaving your options open. It's not like you've made a decision either way. So talk to us even about that balance of preparing but not knowing what you're preparing for, because I think that's where you are right now. Obviously you're coaching, but as you mentioned, there still is potential you could play, and that in itself is a mental struggle of like, when you don't know what you're training for, You just know you're working and you're preparing for when your name is called, but you have no idea which direction that's going to be in. That's mentally challenging as well. So what has that been for you?
Yeah, it was kind of similar if you rewind to when COVID hit, because we was like working hard every day on our own, running and doing that. And it got to a point where we're like, well, how long are we going to be doing this? Because we're not getting any answers. And like, when you've got nothing, you've got no date to hit, or you've got no game to play for. Like, it's like, okay, how long are we going to do this before we kind of take a step back? So that's kind of the situation I was in. And I still am in, I suppose. I'm just trying to keep fit and keep myself ticking over. Like I say, I'm out on the field every day. So just doing an hour by myself and trying to keep fit and keep touching the ball is enough for me right now. I'm in good shape. I'm still only 30 years old, so I've still got a few years left in me. But like I say, I've just got to balance it out with what I'm doing, helping the kids out, and whether I can go back in and play, full time myself. There's obviously a couple of clubs around where we live, which I could probably reach out to when the time's right. But for now, I'm just sort of umming and ahhing what I want to do at the next part of my career. And like I say, the sports broadcasting is something I've always been interested in. So I'm just trying to also explore that avenue. So it's an uncertain time, but also a very exciting time as well.
Yes, and shout out to us early 90s babies. Yes. But yes, but I mean, as you mentioned, it is like you're preparing for everything. I think that's such a good comparison to life. Of sometimes we think we know what's next, we think we know what we want to do, we think we have an idea, but you have something like a pandemic that nobody would have guessed was going to happen. That throws a whole loophole into everything, and now you've got to continue preparing, not knowing when or where your name will be called and what's next for you. So I know you mentioned coaching has been one of the avenues you've been opening, as well as broadcasting. So before we get into the broadcasting side, I definitely want to get into more around exactly what you've been building in coaching, because, as we know, it's so impactful as a coach to be able to connect with the next generation. But there's more to it, to be able to now share and teach them the on the field and off field concepts and things like that. So for you as a coach, take us through just what you've been doing between camps and training to really help grow that area as well of reaching even more kids through the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so we started off just individual training, real simple stuff, small group training and stuff like that. Improving their technical side, which was the fundamentals. Moving through the age groups and the older boys and girls, we mentor them as well, give them advice, break down their games and see where they can improve that way. Like I said, the summer camps are something that's real fun for us. I used to love them when I was a kid. The week-long summer camps, I couldn't wait. So it's just having that fun aspect, but also a good learning environment. We've got coaches that are have played a good level, and they can ask any question they want, which is great for learning. And then we get the elite players that we try and help as best we can. If we think they've got ability and they need a little bit of work, we'll work with them, and then we'll try and get them clubs. We'll try and move them abroad if we can. That's the end goal with the older lot. We've had one guy, our first one, we got signed into Miami, Fort Lauderdale, the second team. He was from Utah. He come and stayed down for 2 months. We trained him every day. Got him a trial out in Miami, and he's loving life out there. So that's the first success story of Prospect Soccer, which is great. So hopefully many more of them come. But yeah, like I say, it's just the fundamentals of teaching them technique, teaching them what they need to do in the gym, and just giving them a real good insight of what it's like to do that in Europe. Because I think the USA, we're catching up, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'd say, to say the least, U.S. soccer is a little bit behind. But in all seriousness, these are the types of different programs that are needed to help bridge that gap. And as you're mentioning, being able to train with professionals, and as I saw on your page, and being able to get that firsthand experience, and even just having somebody that's been there, that in itself is so impactful when you think about a lot of role models that you have. there's something different about a role model that has actually played at the level you are aspiring to get to. That's actually went through the transition. I mean, as you talk about with your first success story, now you're able to give some of that insight. This is what it's like to be a professional. This is what the grind is like. This is how you can prepare. So that in itself is so beneficial to be able to connect with an athlete in that way. But I love what you're saying about prospect soccer. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, no, it's just something you touched on there was so true, that one of our, not our biggest jobs, but we got real close with our family because they had a big decision to make based on the family's life, the child's next move, the club he wanted to play for. And it was a big decision. And we spoke for hours just about the pros and the cons, and we give advice based on our career and how it panned out for us and what to expect, and the little things that a family from around here is not going to know until they've already made the decision. And by that time, it might not be the right one. So we just give advice based on how our career panned out, as in me and Rob, being prospect soccer. And then just give as much advice as we can, living how the weather, the weather here is amazing. You know, going back to London when it rains every day, it might not be for you. Like, there's so many factors that you kind of dismiss when you're making a decision. You base on emotions. You're excited. It's what you always wanted, but you've got to break it down to actually what's your path and how are you going to get to where you need to be, and is this the right move? Like you say, it's just the stuff that you don't know unless you experience it is the stuff that we try and help.
Mm-hmm. And that is exactly as you're sharing, even the little things like the weather. Playing soccer in California is a lot different than playing soccer in London. I didn't realize how much it rains in London. That's my own ignorance. I had no idea, but I feel like more and more I keep hearing people talk about that. But that is the perspective you can bring, and just being able to share, okay, make sure you understand it's not going to be like it is out here in the, on the West Coast. So, that is the benefit. But as you also mentioned, it's growing. It's a chance to connect with and share that insight. But it's one of the many things that you've been working on your side, along with broadcasting, which I love, because there's such a benefit for former athletes, though you're still playing. I won't classify you as former retired athletes quite yet, but as an athlete, to be able to also be a broadcaster and bring that perspective into any conversation, that you're able to now have firsthand perspective as a player, as a pro. So what made you decide to pursue broadcasting? Why have you been seeing that as the next option? I love that you and I connected because of this, the very similarities, but what made you decide to even say, this is what's probably something I would be able to do next and what I want to pursue heavily?
I don't know the answer to that, but I've always been interested. Always been interested in it. I've always done interviews, as you know, playing. You get a mic shoved in your face all the time, and you've got to say the right thing, and you can't say the wrong thing. So you learn to adapt and be in front of cameras and being able to speak. So it's been quite natural in my career that some people are uncomfortable speaking about things and being in front of a camera, which I understand. Personally, it never really fazed me too much. And then there's a side where you're sat at home, you listen to people talk, and you've got an opinion on what they're saying. And I sat there thinking, I could say that, or I could do this, or I could do that. So it's just something that I've always been interested in. And one of my good friends who I used to actually room with, he's doing it now in London. And I was before I moved out here, I was gonna have a little dabble with him and have a show with him in London. I think it was a year before I moved out here, and it didn't really transpire. But it's something I've always kept tabs on, and it's just a career that excites me and something I feel I could do well.
It's definitely a rewarding career. It's definitely one that allows you, as you mentioned, to be on the other side of the mic. And I always tell people, my experiences when I first got started in any capacity around reporting were not as a reporter. It was as someone being interviewed. But you're able to take that perspective of, okay, what were the types of things that I enjoyed? What stood out to me? And even as you're watching, I know, or I'm sure you probably watch a lot of sports radio, sports talk, recaps, broadcasts, that it's now able to just be able to take what you've seen and bring that perspective to the other side of the mic. So in that in itself is very valuable. I agree with you. A lot of times I feel like what made me realize it could be broadcasting. You know, when you think about all the benefits of it and all that comes with being a broadcaster, but it does still keep you grounded to what you love most, which is the game. So what are you doing? Go ahead. I'll let you go first before I jump in.
Yeah, it's also being inquisitive about the game. So like when you're being interviewed, you're answering questions that are being asked to you. So you also know there's a line you can't cross when you're saying things, and you've got to be professional in what you do. I think being on the flip side of that, you're able to ask questions that you think people would like to hear. You know, like I say, you can dictate where an interview goes. You can really get to know people and bring out your own personality rather than just being one who's on the back foot and answering questions how you should answer questions, if you know what I mean.
I do. There's a game within that too. So that's the thing. You do have already an idea of the types of questions, and even the questions I tell people, I always can think of the questions that I was asked that were like, or the things that I was asking, I was like, oh, that's a great question. It even gives you kind of that perspective of the things that jumped out at you that maybe had you like, okay, I don't probably want to talk to this person ever again. Or on the other side, like, this was a great conversation, which hopefully you're getting from this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, as you are looking ahead at all the different things that COVID, you talk about opening and closing doors, figuratively, you know, what is really next for you? What are you looking to hone in on as you're now taking what is coaching, broadcasting, and playing, which are three incredible aspects of being involved in sports, to the next level? What can we expect, Harry?
Like I say, the coaching's going really well. We're building a good client base out here. We're going to start branching out across the US. Hopefully the next camp will be in Portland next summer, which will be great for us to start expanding. As far as the broadcasting goes, I just want to, you know, touch base with as many people as I can, get that experience, what we've really spoken about, and start to venture into that and see if that's the career for me. It's something that really, really fascinates me, and it's something I would love to do. So I'm going to start to tap into people and build a connection with that. I'm in a great place close to LA, so I'm pretty sure I can get some contacts in that. And the playing side, like I say, I'm still on the fence whether it's time to kiss goodbye to something I loved for so long and then move on, or whether I can still give it, you know, the dedication and the time it needs for me to enhance any team. So hopefully I'll have an answer regarding playing in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, and then from there on in, it's just really giving my all to the next sort of stage of my life at 30 years old.
Yes, a new chapter, the big 3-0, a chance to pivot and change who you are.
Reinvent
as you get wiser. Yeah, reinvent yourself, right? Yeah. But I love that because, you know, you're just expanding. We're growing. Yeah. You know, you talk about your camps actually growing in location, you know, you looking to pursue another aspect of your career in broadcasting. And for anybody that's tuning in, especially my broadcasting village, definitely be sure to connect with Harry. And I think that the biggest thing I tell you is use a lot of the skills that you learned as a player in broadcasting. You know, it's such a similar grind of, you know, going out and making it happen. You know, I always compare it to when I was a player. If things weren't going well in a game, if maybe my shot was off or my first touch was off or my stamina or my endurance wasn't what I wanted, you go out, you work at it. It's the same thing in reporting. You know, if you want to get the reps, if you want to work on, you know, how you're asking questions, how you're transitioning, whatever it is, the biggest thing is that you can go out and you can find ways to do it on your own. So I know you'll be a great broadcaster. You definitely seem like you've got the on-camera presence. You've got the knowledge, the experience. So I want to ask you one last question before I give you a chance to share with people, you know, your different platforms they can find you. What is something that you would, if you had to narrow down all the great things you've learned, what is something you would tell either younger Harry or just a younger player in general, that piece of advice that helped you really overcome a lot of adversity and become the person that you are today? What would be that last nugget of advice that you would give a younger Harry or a younger athlete?
I think the first thing we always say to our players and even just people we talk to is talent isn't enough. You know, talent will only get you so far. In whatever you do, if someone's outworking you, in the end, that they will bypass you. You know, if you've got the talent and the work ethic in anything you do, then great. You know, you can go as high as you want to go. And also, just to back that up, and on the flip side, you need a good support network. I think if you try and handle, especially in my career that we've lived, if you try and handle it on your own, there's going to be a time where it's going to become too much. So, you know, have a good support network around you. Be a sponge, try and learn off people that have been there, and just give it your all. And like I say, you only get one shot, you only get one opportunity, and if you're not pulling your weight, there's probably 200-300 players waiting to fill your boots. Did I get you? Did I lose you?
I'm still here. It looks like
I lost you. I was like, hang on, what's happened there?
You know what? It's your show now. Take it over. Looks like my show kicked me off my own show. That's just rude on so many levels. So bear with me here. But Harry, while I'm working through this, go ahead and share with everybody where they can follow you and keep up with all the great content that you're putting out.
Yeah, so for the coaching side, we've got Instagram. It's at prospect.soccer, which is my coaching profile. My personal IGs are on the screen now. It's at HLF100 and also at h.forrester __. So that's my Instagrams. My Twitter's Harry_Forrester. If you ever want to reach out, I'm on LinkedIn too. So hopefully at some point, a few of you can reach out and we can connect, and it'll be great to talk to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I have no idea what just happened. Apparently, there I am. There I am. I have no idea what happened, but hey, you know what? Actually, I was just testing you. It was my way of seeing if you could handle the pressure of my way of seeing if you can handle the pressure that being a reporter throws at you when things just randomly decide to go wrong. But no, in all seriousness, Harry, I do really appreciate you for taking time to join us on the show, to connect, to be able to talk about your career, because as you've been able to share through so much great insight, it is just tremendous the way that sports teach you so much about life and help you navigate through different challenges. Even as my camera was acting up on me, like, we learn to pivot, we learn to adjust when things don't always work out as planned.
You threw me under the bus. You did.
I did. I was really just testing you, actually. I was surprising you. I wanted to see how you'd handle the pressure.
There's no handle. I'll give you that.
But thank you again so much for taking time to join me here on Beyond the Headlines. It really has been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm excited to see what's next for you and how you continue to grow in your career. And I'm sure there will be nothing but great things ahead for you as you continue to navigate your career as a pro athlete, coach, and as a broadcaster. So thank you again, Harry.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And again, for everybody tuning in, if you have not already, go give Harry a follow so you can check him out across social media. We do actually have another guest coming your way, but I want to just thank Harry for joining us and for all of you tuning in to hear about his professional soccer career. So have a good one, Harry. And for everybody that is tuning in, we've got more coming your way because there's a doctor in the house. So we've got two incredibly talented, accomplished guests on the show. I mean, this is the way you get to spend your Friday Eve. I can't even imagine what the weekend's going to be like for you. But we've got some great stories coming your way. And so now, without further ado, I want to take some time to shift as we have a more positive story for you and a very inspiring story. So I know we haven't done this in a while, but we're actually going to get into our positive vibes only segment here on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
What's up? It's Microphone Rocky, and with everything going on right now, we can all use a lot more positivity in our lives. Thankfully, we got Renee Washington here with positive vibes only.
Yes, so we're shifting from the West Coast to now the doc, the one and only. Now, look, I have to say, I have been working on your name for so long. And it's Gershom Sikaala is how you say your name.
Yeah, you said it
But
right. You said it right.
I've been practicing.
You're not the first one. Actually, I started working on my name as well for a long time. I don't know why they gave me some complicated names.
You know what it is? When you are unique, one of a kind, a talent like yourself, you need a name that's going to stand out for people, where you can't just be a Joe Schmo. You've got to be Dr. Gershom Sikaala, who's an author. So for those of you that are tuning in, this man right here has done a lot of incredible things. You are an author. You are a philanthropist. You have a book that cracked the #1 Amazon best-selling list within a matter of 24 hours. You've worked with celebrities as a minister and a mentor for them. And you are all over bringing positive vibes, which I love. And I'm so happy to have you here on the show. So welcome. And how have you been? How's it going?
Been great. Things are going very well. We just staying focused. You don't look at too much negativities, otherwise you'll be buried with it. So you just look at the good out of whatever is going on. And you have been doing incredible things. I like the way you do, like planted but not buried. Most people buried, they need to be planted. Being planted right here in Los Angeles, in a Hollywood area, it has been such a joy. I never even knew that I would work with celebrities or what. I was just doing my thing, encouraging people and bringing life to people.
Yeah, this is a West Coast overload right now that's happening. This was not planned. We're apparently we have you and our previous guest, Harry, both in California. Myself, I'm in Jersey. I'm feeling a little outnumbered here, but it's okay. I really appreciate it.
He did incredible. He did Forrester. He did incredible. I was just listening to the whole entire show. I don't usually finish the shows when I'm watching, but if I finish it, it's really nice. It was really good and inspiring.
Oh, I appreciate you with those kind remarks. That means a lot. And I like that both of you have these positive stories that are great to share. And hopefully for our audience, they'll be able to connect in a really positive way. So, as you mentioned, being in LA and the work that you do, you wear many hats. And, I respect that, because you are helping people in so many unique ways that you're connecting with them at where they need to be met, versus just, writing books or just doing one thing. You're diversifying yourself, that you can reach them through reading, through speaking, through whatever it is. I know you're at a ton of events that you're a part of. So I have to take it back. What even made you decide to go this route, that you're going to be such a humanitarian and philanthropist, to give back through your career and your work?
I've realized that life is about giving back. In 2006, I took a trip to India, where I spent time with Mother Teresa. Had already gone, but I stayed at the original house of Mother Teresa. So when I was there, I saw how dedicated this short woman, uneducated, but she's got a great heart, just serving the Indian people. Then I've read stories about Mahatma Gandhi. Of course, my dad met Martin Luther Jr. During their time. So I've inspiration in different places, and also being surrounded with people of Nelson Mandela, being in that crowd. But the thing is, being an African, I thought like most Africans have not exploited enough their potential. Most of them, they have come to just place of following what everyone else is doing. But it's just going to school, get educated, and get a job. Yes, going to school is very important, and get educated and get a job. But I think there is always more. A few days ago, I spent my time in the studio recording my new song. And this producer was produced many people, was produced Usher, has produced Madonna, has produced Katy Perry and all this. Now he's producing my song. So he was just saying that you're not just a mentor yourself. There's also music inside you. Then I said, wait a minute. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a humanitarian, now a musician. Then I just said, actually, you can't just have one thing doing. You can just explore yourself. There is so much that we have inside us. I mentor sports people. I've been mentoring sports people for a long time, on and off. In 2006, again, I had opportunity to go to the World Cup in Germany, where I was a world coordinator for the World Cup for the humanitarian part. Let's say if the athletes get injured or discouraged, they would invite me to encourage them with my team. So we were there. FIFA, what's blood? We saw Plata there. That is for soccer, African soccer. We saw Plata. Some of these people are dead. The Secretary of United Nations, Kofi Annan, was there. We saw all these people they said, why are you here? I said, we're here because we want to encourage them. And how we got into all these stadiums and we got all these flat seats and all that, they said, what job are you here? I said, I'm a volunteer to inspire them to do better. So as a result, I will be invited to motivate them that you can do it. You can, just look at your future. Do not look at this. I thought I would share that piece of thing that happened in 2006. But what I love is I love people. And I think every person just needs an encouragement. Every person just needs an encouragement. And one of the ways that I express myself through books. I express myself through books because I think not so many Africans have written books. Most of the books are written by the Western. And I love the Western people. I love all the lessons. But I think we have a lot of more Black African authors now, which I'm very happy. But 20 years ago, or even 50 years ago, there wasn't many who wrote. But for me, I just wanted to inspire generations now and a generation to come, because books will always remain. So every experience I have, I write books. And it's just amazing. Like all these positions, actually, they found me. They found me things that I've done since I started preaching the gospel. I started out as a preacher at the age of 14 as a preacher.
Wow. You are incredible. But also, as you're sharing, I think something that's just remarkable to me is all these different hats that you've worn, all these different successes and ways that you've been able to connect with people. You talk about writing being a big part of who you are, and being a 14-year-old preacher, which is remarkable. And even as you mentioned, as you're just casually talking about Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, and these very pivotal people in our world that you've been able to connect with in some way and be able to be inspired by and learn through and walk in their footsteps, and to even be someone, as you mentioned, can sing. I mean, is there anything you don't do, is my question. Is there anything you are not talented at or don't do, is my first question, that I'm like waiting to see where you're human. And if you don't, you have a flaw.
What is the limitation is this? What is it that your mind cannot accommodate?
This is true.
When you allow your mind says yes, there is nothing impossible. If you can't sing, you can talk through music. There are some of these musicians, when I hear them, they're not singers, they're just talkers, and they just connect the sound, and they're famous. They're there. So you need to, first and foremost, don't try to become somebody else. Try to become yourself. If you can find yourself and learn to risk with yourself, that's one thing I love about sports. You never find out how good you are, not until you go into the gym or you find a coach or you train. And most of the best athletics, the world changes, they never even had a mentor, they never even had a coach, but they had something within them, courage. and boldness to step out. Then the mentors found them. Then the coaches found them. That's one thing I like about mentoring, because mentoring is like making people become better than yourself. So you can just know one muscle, that it's only one muscle that works. Then when you keep working out, you realize this other muscle can be developed. This is life is exciting. Life is exciting. We cannot just limit. You know, I was in Cape Town one time, just walking by the beach, and these people approaches me. They say, "Can you do voiceover?" I said, "I don't do voiceover. What is that?" He says, "You come to a studio tomorrow?" I said, "They said, we'll pay you." Then I said, "Sounds good." I said, "But I've never done voiceover." Then I said, "Okay, I'll come." So I'm there in the studio in Cape Town, South Africa. They were filming, I think, if I'm mistaken, it should be like SpongeBob. They were doing SpongeBob in South Africa. 2006 again, a lot of things happened. And I was still younger than I am now in 2006. The years I've really yeah. So
you're not aging. You're not aging, actually. Time's passing, but you're not aging.
Yeah. So they put this headphones on. They said, "Listen to this voice. Can you imitate this voice?" I said, "I'll try. I've never done it." They had like 15 people that did the same thing. And this man came to me and said, "Your voice has been picked as #1. So we are paying you right now." They paid me $750 for 5 minutes of my voice to be in the SpongeBob. But what I didn't know is this. They asked me, said, "Do you need credits? Do you need a credit, or do you want just to get paid? If you want credits, we don't have to pay you. But if you don't want the credits, we'll pay you." I never understood those terms, so I just pay me. So that's why you can't find my name, any credit when it comes to SpongeBob, the voice. But actually,
wow. I need to know which episode this is. Do you have... I'm not afraid to admit I like SpongeBob. I really do. And I'm definitely curious now to know which episode you are in SpongeBob. Are you a specific character? Like,
I was specific.
What was your line?
My line, I don't know what I said. I was just following these words. Then they gave me $750 for 5 minutes. I said, "Wow." Then the other one was this movie called Faith Like Potato. It's an old movie. It's a Christian movie. Then they asked me, "Can you do voiceover on this movie?" I said, I don't know if I've ever done it. Then I did. Then I was in Europe somewhere. I saw the cover said Faith Like Potato. Then I said, "Oh my God." So this was a big movie. For that one, they give me the credits, so you can really find it. So you find that all these things were just happening. You know, it's just amazing. I could just say it's divine setups, like featuring in the Faith Like Potato. I didn't even plan it. And I featured within actually even in another one called RX and Wonderland in Disneyland for 1 minute. When they were filming that, when I was just going to enjoy Disneyland. Then they asked me, said, can you be in the movie? He said, "What is it? We're doing RX and Wonderland." He said, "You really can do this. We want somebody like this." And there was audition. He said, "Are you on audition?" I said, "No, I'm just walking around." He said, "You're dressed like you're in auditions." And there I featured for, I think, a minute or two. And they said, "Where can you watch this?" I said, "Go on Disneyland Channel." But I've never watched myself my piece, but I know the name of the movie. It's called RX and Wonderland. It says fun, all these adventures. You know, I'm sharing this on casual because these are like adventures of things that when you open your heart to possibilities and your mind, nothing is impossible. I mean, I'm a Bible teacher. I love the Bible. I've studied the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. But I'm not a religious person. I have a relationship with the Creator. And that's what I tell people. They say, are you religious? Many times they've asked me, are you religious? I say, no, I'm not religious, but I have a relationship with the Creator. And that's where I get all these opportunities. And people ask me, how did you write 16 books? I said, they come to me. They don't just write them.
You are, wow. I there's a lot to digest there, because I think the biggest thing that you've just shared with us is, as you mentioned, the doors you can open when you are mentally open to possibilities. You know, I think a lot of times in life, people are so quick to say no to something, or get discouraged, or even just think, well, why would I do that? And as you're saying, why not? You know, if you have somebody approach you and come to find out it was for SpongeBob or for Disney or other TV appearances that you've now made, you know, those are opportunities that you easily could have dismissed because it didn't align with what you thought you were supposed to be doing. But as you're saying, it's not what you thought. It's what the Creator had and planned, you know, it planned for you. And I'm a very religious person as well. I do think everything does happen for a reason. There are no mistakes, no accidents, no surprises. So as you're saying, through your journey and your experiences, you've been able to open doors you didn't even know you were meant to walk through. You know, you've been able to step into things that you had no idea were for you. But also something that I want to touch on is the fact you have done so much, writing 16 books, being a pastor, being a philanthropist, making TV appearances, all these different roles that you've been able to work through. How do you go about juggling? You know, I'm someone that I'm nowhere near on your level, but I do a lot of things as well. And I know that's something I often get asked. So I'm going to now ask you, because I'm curious to know your thoughts on the best ways to navigate when your brain naturally has you working in a million different directions and all these ideas and words and concepts and books are rolling through your head. What works for you to best sort through this, prioritize, and be able to navigate all these ideas that you have?
For me, it's a place of functioning at a place of resting, at a place of rest. Whenever you're panicking so much, you need to take a break, even if it's 20 minutes, just rest. I think a lot of people, they act on fear and they're afraid of things. As a result, they make mistakes. And one other thing is, my faith is a big part of my life. Faith is not just takes you to heaven. Faith is also can move mountains here on earth. If you have that strong faith, you know that you are loved, and you know that there is something inside you bigger than life, bigger than anything else. That's your faith. That gives you your comfort. There's this saying, you can do all things through Him that gives you strength. Every human being has got the capacity to accommodate the impossible. Only when you open yourself, and you must learn to rest. Like I had a lot of things today. So what I did myself, before coming on, I rested. I took a nap for about 20 minutes. Why? I forgot for that.
Those are the best naps, by the way.
Yes. In that 20 minutes, I forgot about you. I forgot about myself and everything. Like I don't have any schedule. I just relax. Then by the time my 20 minutes is up, I feel relaxed. Do not panic. You have to learn to relax. So number one is your faith. Second, you must believe it. Faith is believing. Then you must also always know that there's three things I always talk. I talk about desire, faith, and also action. So when you desire something, have faith you can have it, then desire to achieve it. That's action. These are very important things. And also, when did you take time for yourself? Learn to fellowship with yourself. Learn to study yourself. Like what gives me energy every morning, or what discourages me? So when you go through things that gives you energy and discourages you, when you start trying to work out on those things that discourage you, how can I bypass this? How can I bypass this discouragement? And also avoid people that don't believe in you. They do not let your loneliness attract toxic people in your life. Sometimes when you're alone and lonely, you can really attract wrong people. I call it toxic people that can really cause you to really go on a different direction. I can tell you the other thing that I'm working on, that I worked on 2018, but 3 days ago, the dream came to pass. I love smelling good. I always wanted to have my own cologne, which is the high-end cologne, not cheap one. So I invested into it, and now my cologne is ready, and the perfume for the women. And I gave one to one of the sportsmen who plays for the Saints. He is a big sportsman person. I'm not going to mention his name because I mentored some of those ones. So he plays for Saints. So his wife smelled it and said, "This cologne is the best I've ever smelled." Then I said, yes, it has positive vibes because there's the presence of Jehovah in it. You're going to smell good and it's going to attract favor. I think I need to mail you a bottle. Washington.
I will not argue against that.
So I was talking to one of my assistants who is she's also watching. She said, "What else can you not do?" When I was just telling her. And I said, that's a good question. I can not only do what my mind cannot allow me to do. A man and a woman has been designed to create. There is so much potential inside out because we were made in the image of the Creator. Because we are made in the image of the Creator, we have the abilities of the Creator to create things. And also, you have to understand that when you're so discouraged on your job, which means you're not supposed to be there, which means you're supposed to do something else. Sometimes this discomfort, these circumstances, they speak to us that you're supposed to change something or do something. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we develop our own pity party, we become discouraged, we start blaming ourselves, blaming our parents, blaming God. All these things doesn't work. Do not blame God. Do not blame yourself. Do not even blame your mistakes you have today. What is it that you can do today?
Yes.
Because what has been done has been done.
Absolutely.
Most of the people, they blame the Creator. The Creator has not done anything wrong. He gave you everything. There is so much unlimited things that we can do. And you will never discover, not until you try today to do something. Sometimes most talented people, at one time, they felt the most gifted people. When I was growing up, I felt like I was not gifted at all. I felt like I did not have a gift. At one point, I felt like I did not have a gift. But I had so much desire to create things, to do something. But I did not have the opportunity to do it. It was not normal. I remember when our first invention was a bamboo bike. You can find it on CNN News, actually. It's still there on CNN News. Zambikes on CNN News. They have still kept it on. So if you go to CNN News, Zambikes, you find on the business side, you find my bike is there. It's been.
You do it all.
That's amazing, and it's just. But here's what people told me: said, "You are a preacher. Just focus on your preaching." But I said, "I love preaching, but also I love doing something practical for the people." Then when we started inventing a bike, they said, why not cars? Why not elephants? I said, we need something natural that can help the people. We need something organic. So when we created it, CNN picked it up, BBC picked it up. It was all over the world. People were talking about it.
I love that.
Even Oprah Winfrey knew about it. I met her and we talked. I said, you know the green bike? She says, oh, of course. Oprah Winfrey knows about your green bike. Oh, la. It was like a melting point for me. Like, wow. Because I used to watch. Oprah is like an icon of Africa. You know, everybody loves Oprah.
Yes, I honestly I definitely can't even imagine that feeling of getting to meet Oprah. I have to ask about it. But, you know, before we even get into that, as you talk through all that your innovations have brought about, the different opportunities, you know, being able to meet someone like Oprah definitely is at the top of that list of many things that you probably did not even expect would happen. You know, when you set out to do something, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about before with your appearances on SpongeBob and being able to have these different opportunities open up, just the beauty of seeing things that you had no idea were meant for you coming into fruition. You know, and I think that's one of the most marvelous things about life is we have a plan in our minds. We think by a certain age, I'm going to be doing this. And if I keep doing this, this will happen. And this and this and this. And we overplan every little step of what we think our life is going to be. But one of the most amazing parts about that is it can go completely different in a great way, in a way that's allowing you to learn. And something you said in the very early part of that was understanding why things are happening to you. You know, changing your focus so that rather than focusing on the mistakes, blaming others, all the things that went wrong, all that you perceived to go wrong, because sometimes it might not actually be going wrong, as you know. Things might be falling apart so something better can come together. But when you shift that perspective from thinking about the woe is me mindset into how am I learning and being a better person because of this? Let me pick myself back up. Let me work through this. Let me pivot. Let me adjust. And let me keep moving along. You know, and that's something that you're mentioning of and showing through your own experiences when you are able to work through the uncertainty, navigate through any sort of adversity. I'm sure as far as marvelous as all these things are that you're sharing with us, it was not easy. This was not handed to you. There was
all kind of failures, all kind of
and that's the beauty of it.
I thought I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I was going through all those things. Actually, that became a blessing. Because when I did something, when we did a bicycle, and it was all over the news, all over the world, I met even presidents in other countries. They want to meet me and greet me. They're saying, thank you for what you're doing. One time I spoke to a number of diplomats. There were like 30 diplomats representing other countries, and I was a speaker. I was speaker to the diplomats. Things like that, they begin to change your life. You begin to say, actually, people believe in me. Why should I not believe in myself? You know, people had more faith in me than I had faith in myself. I had faith to do things, but I didn't know I could do it. There's so many people there that are listening. They feel like they cannot do it. They're not able. Actually, you're stronger than you think. You are more creative than you think. All you need is just to silence all these negativities, to silence them and just go and just do it. But when you're doing it, be conscious of being loving. In your doing it, be intentional to be kind to people. Remember that the same weaknesses that you've gone through, the same insecurities that you've gone through, someone is going through those things. You need to pick them up. Be the one to pick them up. Be the one to encourage them. Somebody needs an encouragement. Can you imagine how much I would achieve if I had a mentor or a coach at a young age to push me? I would achieve more. But what really inspired me is to see people like Martin Luther King. They didn't have really mentors. The Mahatma Gandhi. These people didn't have mentors. Seeing all these people, the worst thing was like, most people that I talked to, they were saying it's impossible. Everything that I was taught is impossible. It's what everything in me was screaming, I can do it. I remember the first time in the 10th grade, I said, when I graduate, I'm going to write my book. Then some people say, you can't. You can't. No one just write books. You mean like a book? Then everything in me screamed, I want to write the book. And this was my first book. It's called You Shall Live. This is the first book I ever written. And this book has touched more lives, more young people all over the world than any other book. This was my first book. Then I started having other experiences with the creator. Then I loved this one. This one, it just started movements in Korea, all around United States, all over around the world, Australia, everywhere. This one. This was my second book. And of course, there is my other third book. Then I struggled with decision makings. This is another book. This book is actually one of the best for decision making. It's called The Game of Decisions, because every day we are loaded with decisions. Every day. I don't know about you, Renee, but I face decisions every day.
Every day. Especially
being in business and being in things. Like right now, it's different the way I was 10 years ago, 5 years. Right now, it's like, let me just say, I'm still the same person, but the responsibilities are much more greater because I have people that work for me now. Every decision will also influence people that work for me, and people look up to you. It's different. But the best way actually is to stay yourself.
And that is the most important piece of it all. As you are achieving successes, writing books, seeing your books take off, seeing, how things are coming together for yourself. I mean, as you talk about even meeting some of the biggest names, I'm going to go back to Oprah because I have to, and meeting presidents and meeting some of the biggest names in our world. It's easy to get caught up in that. And it's easy to lose yourself in that. And I think one of the most important pieces, as you've been able to share, is that you have to stay grounded to, who you are, how you got started, where you are, and where you're going. Moving with intention. I love that concept. It's something I always try to stress, like move with intention. Everything you're doing is to work for the greater good. So I want to ask you, as you have been able to achieve such success across so many different avenues, working with celebrities, writing 16 books, having best-selling books at that, being able to have products such as your bike and now your cologne line and fragrances and singing and being a voiceover artist. I mean, what helped you continue to keep going and not settle? Because I think that's also another part of this that we're talking about. Sometimes people can get complacent and thinking, and you know what? That might be for them. That's not for everyone. Us innovators and creators, we don't settle. We're never complacent. So what has helped you keep going through the failures, through the adversity, but also through the successes, to not settle for just being a pastor or just being an author, but to be so many other things?
What has helped me is to, what is the purpose of my life? Why am I here for on earth? It's not just about having a good car, a mansion, or having being a bestseller, or meeting Oprah Winfrey, which I enjoyed so much. It's about a purpose. For me, I want to be a door opener to many, which I've been. I want to be able to, when the higher I go up, the more I want to help people. I want to help people. So what drives me is that I want to help somebody. It's not usually for me, but it's for someone. And also, when I look at myself, I feel like I'm behind maybe 20 years of my life. I'm behind. I'm supposed to achieve more. Because now I realize how much has been put inside me that I was afraid to do. I was afraid to step out my own ideas. Now that I've seen my own ideas that they work, I advise people and mentor people. I give them ideas and I see them working. Then I said, wow, there is something there. Now I started also to start trusting in my own intellect, trusting in that gift that the Creator has given me to be able to act on that. And also, everything you do, it's about encouraging someone. For example, books, they are all about decision making. It's about struggles. Every day, I made bad decisions. I want people to make right decisions. Whilst they are still young, if they can make the right decision, they can always become the best and number one. There is no trick. There is no magic on prosperity or success. There is no myth behind it. It's a decision making and believing in yourself and believing in God that believes in you, that you can achieve beyond your forefathers. You can achieve beyond everyone else. And the one thing, I was laughing and talking to someone not too long ago. I said, do you know, Renee, do you know that we are living on the ideas of the dead people? Because look at the Roman philosophy and the Greek philosophy. It's what really the world. What about your philosophy, Renee? Why can't you come up with a concept that will be used for generation?
Right.
What about, so I think about these things, that the 21st century, how does it look like in 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now? How will the world look like? What philosophy or what mentality can I develop? So I think about all those crazy things, which I believe everyone has got the power of imagination. The reason why sometimes people are in drug addiction, their life is in a mess, it's because they're not doing what they were born to do. If they're not doing what they're born to do, something else grabs you. But if you find your passion and your purpose, you will not allow anything to stop you. That's for me, it's not about meeting celebrities or the presidents or all this. Usually, when I meet them, I don't even feel they are great people. Not until I leave their presence. Then I said, oh my God, I was just a great person. Oh my God. Okay. Because it's like, when I meet them, it's like going back to Oprah. When I met Oprah, it was a casual meeting, but we ended up chatting. Actually, she enjoyed talking to me. And even the bodyguard wanted to stop. She stopped the bodyguard. She was so cool. She said, no, I want to talk to him. So we started talking and talking and talking. We were like, it was making sense. There are some energies that acknowledges the greatness in you, and you can really feel it. Then you can really feel, you see, like yourself, Renee, you carry so much creativity in you. You carry so much greatness in you. Sometimes you may not even know how to express it, but that's who you are. And you find that greatness, and sometimes, somebody told me a few days ago, says, people don't like me. I'm always rejected. I said, are you kind? Are you loving? He said, yes, I am. I said, probably you're too great for them.
That's possible.
Because they cannot accommodate your greatness. If they cannot accommodate your greatness, you have to be rejected. Then I said, stop hanging out with them, because you are so great that they cannot accommodate your greatness. Unless your attitude is wrong, unless you are being bossy, those I understand. But it's your attitude.
Wow.
Attitude. It's all about attitude. Always when I meet somebody, even Oprah, if I talked enough, I would have said, what can I offer you? What can I do for you? I would say, because I'm that type of the person. It doesn't matter how great the person is. I will always say, what can I do for you? Because I want to be resourceful all the time.
Yes, yes.
Be resourceful.
So I love so many things about what you're saying, and I know we're going to get ready to wrap up soon. So I have a couple last questions for you, and to just tie into what you've been saying about the fact that, you know, you do have to be willing to put yourself first and prioritize yourself. And if somebody doesn't always agree with you, or if things don't always work out for you the way you think they're supposed to be able to understand that you're going to keep going. You know, if for whatever reason you're facing adversity, you're facing challenges, someone doesn't like you, it's not a knock on you. And I think sometimes we often take failures, rejection as a personal attack. But it's understanding that it's bigger than you. You know, if someone doesn't like you, it might have nothing to do with you. Maybe it's something that they're working through. Or if something doesn't work out, a job you want or an opportunity, whatever it may be, you don't get the results that you wanted. It may not be because of you at all. Maybe they wanted something different. Maybe they weren't ready for you. So I think that in itself is very powerful of being able to just, again, shift that perspective and understanding just the nature of how things work. But also, as you mentioned, being genuine. You know, when you're in these conversations with presidents and Oprah and celebrities, you can't be someone that's getting caught up in that. Because I'm sure if you had went up to Oprah, like every other one of her fans probably would, of like being starstruck and babbling and tripping over your words and just, you know, not able to have a professional, very good conversation with her. I don't know that it would have went the same way. I don't. So I'm definitely curious for you, having been in these spaces, you know, conducting yourself as a professional, staying grounded, but also staying personal within that and being able to connect with people in a unique way, because everybody has a different way that you can connect with them. You know, how have you worked in these spaces, especially amongst Oprah? And I need to know more about that encounter, actually. But how have you been in these spaces and found that balance between being professional, but also still being yourself?
These are great people. They have accomplished so much. You always give honor to who it belongs. First and foremost, meeting Oprah, I was honored. I was honored that I was able to meet somebody that I used to watch when I was a kid. And finally, this happened. I did not even plan. I didn't plan. We were seated, all of us on the front seat. We were on somebody's birthday party, and we were seated there. Then, actually, I didn't even pay attention to her at first. I didn't know that was Oprah. That's one thing you should know. I didn't know that was Oprah. A lot of people were taking pictures and all that. I didn't pay attention.
And that didn't register.
Somebody told me, "Can you take a picture of me and for them and Oprah?" So I took. Then I said, "Oh." Then I said, "Hi, Oprah." She said, "Hi." Then I said, "Oh yeah, one time you commented on our Twitter on Zambikes, the greenback." Said, "Yeah, I know about that." Then we started talking about that. She said, "Yeah, I remember you. I remember you. I saw you on this CNN. That's a long time ago," because Oprah's got a heart for Africans. So he knew what was going on. Then she was asking me more questions, and we were talking. We were really, it was normal. It was not fake. It was so genuine. It was not something I sketched or I planned. No, it was just a flow. And also, I was so cautious if it was okay for me to keep discussing. She kept saying, "Yeah, I want to learn more and we want to talk more." And you know, you always need to look at the environment as well. You don't want to push yourself. One thing I've never done, I never push myself, like to try to be in front of somebody. No, you always need to know if you're welcome or not.
So read the room.
Oprah welcomed me. She was so sweet, by the way. And if she watches this, we love you.
If she watches this, oh my gosh, if Oprah watches this, I will.
You never know.
Oh, yeah, we love you, Oprah. Let me keep it cool.
You know, I mean, she has been so inspiration to a lot of young African women and in South Africa and all over. You know, she has met some of my friends that she has worked with in South Africa. It's just amazing what she's doing. We all should be doing something to help things. One thing about it's about giving back. What do you do with your success? What do you do with your achievement? What do you do? The reason why people are discouraged, it's because they are like Dead Sea. When you go to Israel, there is what you call the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea only receives and receives. What happened? It smells and stinks because it doesn't give out. So a lot of people are very filthy, smelly. They're discouraged. Why? Because they don't give out. It's not just rich people, wealthy people. Every single person has got a capacity to give. Their capacity to be helpful. When we have given out, we've given up even up 250,000 worth of medical equipments and in Africa and medication just to help. It may not sound too much for others, but for me, when we gave that 250,000 worth of medical things, and we gave the shoes, over 150,000 pairs of shoes in South Africa in 2010, all these things. Even now, the little bit of what I do in Los Angeles, we give blankets when it is freezing. In Skid Row, we give them blankets, we give them food. We just finished one thing about one day in LA where my organization was invited, and then Dustin Bieber performed for the charity for One Day LA and many others. It was really good. Spending time with the poor who do not even know who you are. Some of these people, they don't even know you just love people, genuinely love people. I like helping people that can't help me back. I help lifting somebody up that I know that no one else can ever help them. That's really my heart. So the key is when you're genuine, people can lead your energy. Either you're fake or you're genuine. They can feel it. People can feel you. Either they're religious, non-religious. There is something inside the human that God has put that people are able to sense. So just be yourself.
I love
and
it.
Be respectful. The words I like, people ask me, what's your advice? I always say, keep it real and keep it simple. Most of the time I've met all these, be presidents, be senators, be mayors that I meet all the time. I'm always myself.
I love it. And that's the important piece. Keep it real, keep it simple. And as you're mentioning, a lot of great advice there that hopefully people are listening to, taking notes, remembering, whether it's mental notes, physical notes, because you have talked to a lot of great points. It is bigger than you. For as great as it is meeting Oprah and presidents, I'm sure it was just as great and fulfilling also being able to give back and help so many people through the work that you do, and help so many people, whether it's through the books that you're writing, the work you're doing as a philanthropist, being out in the community. There's so many different areas you're pouring into to, create this legacy that's bigger than you. That's about extending the hand, an open hand to someone else. So you do a lot of great things, and I am so proud of you for that. And I commend you for all that you continue to do. And I want you to just share with our audience exactly where they can follow you. Where can they keep up with all that you have going on? You're doing events, you're writing, you've got your 16 books, best-selling books of that. You're all over doing great things. So where can those tuning in also keep up with you?
Yeah, one thing is, do not limit yourself just in one career. Do not limit yourself just in what you learned at school. Also, follow your intuitions. Write down some of those ideas. They can bring in billions and billions of dollars. So because of all these things, I have a monthly free webinar that I do called it's a webinar. It's a masterclass for strategies. So you can find, we always post it on our LinkedIn, which is Dr. Gershom Sikaala, and also Twitter, which I haven't used much. I should be using much. And also the website, gershomsikaala.org, and also on Facebook, You can, we are more active on Facebook, but now we're getting more, we're actually active in 3 things: LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. But you can everything is connected actually. It's so easy to find me actually. So that's why I have to say the right things every time, because it's so easy to find me. And I've come up with this. I'm approachable. Even if my social media is not run by me, it's run by my team, but I'm always there, like to check who is there, because I don't want to be this untouchable person, this impossible person. I know that whatever greatness I have, it's a gift to the mankind. It's a gift for me to, I remember I was in Skid Row, and one person saw me in one magazine or some kind and said, are you Gershom Sikaala? I said, yes, I am. He says, why is it that you're so simple? Can I take a picture with you? I said, of course, anytime, as many as I take.
Oh no, you froze a little.
What I have, it's a gift from the Creator, so I can be a gift to every human being on earth where possible. Possibly, I'm intentional. Whoever I meet, even if it's a minute, I want them to feel special.
Yes, because again, it's not how it's.
Finally, I want to say, Oprah made me feel special. That's one thing that woman touched me. She made me look like I'm a biggest shot. You know what I mean? She made me look like very special. You could feel that energy that she made you look. I said, my God, I've learned something from this. Even just this, just with her for that moment, feeling great. I said, I want to do that. I want to make everyone feel great. I think we can all learn from that. You know, we can, I don't want to say too much things, but we have classes, weekly meetings. I'm busy, and if you're watching this program, there is a book called "Speak to the Wind." You can ask for it. We'll send to you an ebook for free. "Speak to the Wind." It's a book about hope. These days, with all what's going on, you need to have positive vibes. So I didn't think about it. Now I'm talking about giving. My team always says, don't give too much. Okay, I'm not going to give you all the 16 books, but I'm going to give out one book, Speak to the Wind, because people are going through this discouragement. So if you are watching this program, just say you watched Renee Washington program, and I want to, I'm asking for the book. So you have to mention her. Then that way you will not able to buy it. Then we'll be able to send you that copy called Speak to the Wind. Then
all right.
Amazons. Yeah.
So there's a giveaway here. So it's a copy of your book. Repeat that one more time for somebody that was not paying attention in the back.
Okay. I'm giving out a free book, an ebook called Speak to the Wind. It's a book that talks about speaking to your situation, not allowing a situation to talk to you, but you need to talk to your attitude to change. You need to talk to your fear to change. You need to talk to all this. So I'm giving out this as a free book, as a gift to everyone. And you just have to mention the name Renee. Then we'll be able to send you an electric book for you. Of course, if you want to get the number one bestseller, Look at God book, you can find it on Amazon. And Breakthrough Thinking, Breakthrough Thinking has been in the hands of a lot of celebrities, like the A-lister celebrities, almost a number of them, almost each one of them has it. As many as I've met, I've given them books.
As you should, as you should. Well, I really do appreciate you for this. So again, for everybody listening, if you say my name, Renee, at checkout, I guess it will be, for when you are purchasing an ebook copy of Speak with Wind, excuse me. Am I saying this right? I don't want to mess up this giveaway.
Okay, Speak to the Wind.
Oh, I thought there's a typo there. Oh my gosh, I'm giving people the wrong information.
No
Bear
problem.
with us here.
So Speak to the Wind, it's a
I was
book.
like, that doesn't make sense. I thought it was called Speak to the Wind. So when
You're
you
doing
are
really well.
going, when you are going to check out a copy of Speak to the Wind, make sure that you use my name to get that giveaway and take advantage of it. I'm actually going to do so myself. I love books. I love reading. So I'm definitely going to check it out. And I just really appreciate you taking time to join us because, Doc, you have a lot of great things going on for you. And I noticed, as you mentioned, being approachable, that was one thing that stood out to me. You're very approachable, very easygoing, very down to earth. And you're just so grounded. And I really appreciate you taking time to join us on the show for this Positive Vibes Only segment, bringing so many positive vibes. I know it filled up my cup. And I hope it did for others that are tuning in too, just to be able to hear all these great experiences, advice, insight that you were able to share. So thank you so much for taking time to join us. It really has been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Love you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And for everybody that is tuning in, I want to leave you with one final quote because it jumped out at me as Dr. Gershom Sikaala was speaking of, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but that people will never forget how you made them feel. And that was said by the late, great Dr. Maya Angelou. So that is a big aspect of what our first guest, Harry Forrester, was saying, as well as Dr. Gershom Sikaala, of being impactful, influential, and being able to connect with people in a very powerful, personable way. So thank you all so much for tuning in to another edition of Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. It's really been a pleasure on this Thursday evening to have a chance to connect with you and bring you some positive vibes, some great stories, and some great insight. I'm hoping that you'll walk away with your cup filled as you get ready to prepare for the weekend. So be sure to hit that subscribe button to keep up with all we've got going on each and every week. And I look forward to seeing you right back here for another edition of Beyond the Headlines each and every week with more great guests coming your way. Have a great one, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.